Ladies and gentlemen, or shall I say, wandering stars of consciousness, what if I told you that the greatest secret about being the chosen one is that you didn't choose it, and yet it was always you? You see, we spend our lives desperately trying to prove our worth, searching for signs, asking, "Am I special? Do I matter?" But the universe does not operate on job titles, social media followers, or medals hung upon the wall. It dances to a quieter, deeper rhythm. And sometimes someone comes along whose very existence unsettles the ordinary without trying, without boasting, without even knowing why. Such a person is called the chosen one. But don't let the phrase inflate your ego. Being chosen doesn't mean elevated, it means entrusted. It means you carry a light others pretend they do not see, a truth they avoid, a mirror they cannot look into without confronting themselves. People will know, they will react, not because you shout from rooftops, but because your silence echoes in their souls. Tonight we explore 7 proofs, not opinions, not affirmations, but signs that people already know who you are. The idea of being the chosen one is not something to be grasped by the ego or claimed like a trophy. It is not given by human hands, nor is it earned through accolades or social validation. Rather, it is something that unfolds naturally, inevitably, like the blooming of a lotus or the movement of the tide. You see, the first proof that people recognize you as the chosen one is not something you can fabricate. It is that you were not chosen by man, but by the eternal rhythm of the universe. This rhythm is the silent intelligence that spins galaxies, stirs the wind, and causes your heart to beat without effort. It is the Tao, the Logos, the eternal dance, and in this dance some individuals are not selected. They are revealed, not by institutions, but by existence itself. There is a feeling, a subtle awareness, that you are being moved by something greater than yourself, as if your life were not just a story unfolding, but a chapter in a much vaster narrative, authored by something beyond comprehension. When people encounter you, they may not have the words for it, but they feel something. It's not charisma, it's not charm, it's alignment. You walk as though you're not walking alone. You speak as though truth is not invented but remembered. You listen as if silence has more weight than noise. And so they stare, they project, they follow, or they flee, but rarely are they indifferent, because you were not chosen to impress. You were chosen to disturb the pattern. Your presence alone can interrupt the sleep of others, not because you try to wake them, but because you are awake. You are the drop that remembers it is ocean. You are the wave that does not forget the sea. The universe chooses such people not for comfort, but for calling. You will not fit in because you were not made to conform. You will feel out of place because your place is not of this world. It is within it, like a flame held in a lantern, illuminating but never consumed. And others, without knowing why, will feel this light. Some will be drawn to it, others will resent it. But all will sense it. So you see, the first proof is not external. It is not in their words, but in their reaction. They know, they just don't know why they know. Your being triggers a knowing they have buried, a sense that something sacred is walking among them, not above, not below, but through. And it is not your task to convince them. Your task is simply to be. For in being, you become the living evidence of something timeless, a reminder that the divine still moves, still breathes, still chooses, even in a world that has forgotten how to listen. You are not recognized by what you do, but by the energy you carry. This is the second undeniable proof that people know you are the chosen one. It is not in your achievements or credentials, not in the noise you make or the things you claim. It is something quieter, deeper, something that cannot be imitated. It's the weight of your presence. You walk into a room and the atmosphere shifts. Conversations pause, glances linger, the air thickens with a kind of spiritual gravity. People might not understand it, but they feel it. You don't have to speak to be heard. You don't have to move to be noticed. Your energy arrives before you do, and stays long after you leave. This is not something you create. It is something you carry. An invisible field of awareness, of power that does not scream but hums. You are tuned to a frequency most have forgotten exists. It's as if the universe whispers through your very existence, and people hear it not with their ears but with their soul. Some mistake it for confidence. Others think it's mystery, but it is neither. It is simply alignment. You are aligned with something beyond this world, and that alignment radiates. People recognize it in ways they can't explain. You might notice strangers confiding in you, telling you things they've never told anyone. You may find others drawn to you in moments of crisis, as if they instinctively sense that you carry something stable in a world that constantly shakes. You become a mirror, not of who they pretend to be, but of who they really are, and this makes them both comforted and uncomfortable, because when they stand near your energy, they are faced with the contrast between their masks and your truth. This is why some people will be magnetized by you, and others will feel threatened, not because you have harmed them, not because you have said anything unkind, but simply because your energy holds a frequency that exposes everything false. And truth, when it has been buried, becomes painful to look at. You do not have to try to be powerful. You are powerful because you have stopped trying. You are present, real, awake, and this quality is so rare that people will attribute all kinds of meaning to it. Some will think you are arrogant. Others will assume you are enlightened. Some will love you. Some will envy you. But all will feel something shift in themselves in your presence. This is the silent recognition of the chosen one, not a badge you wear, but an atmosphere you create just by being. You see, true power does not perform, it resonates, and those attuned to that vibration will feel something ancient in you, something sacred that needs no explanation. And those who fear it will avoid you, not because of what you do, but because of what your presence reveals. You disrupt comfort zones without effort. This is one of the most telling signs that people know you are the chosen one. You don't need to preach or provoke, yet somehow, your presence alone challenges the illusions people have built around themselves. You enter a room and people begin to question subtly, inwardly, their values, their beliefs, their choices. It's not because you've said anything controversial, but because who you are exposes the smallness of what they've settled for. You radiate a frequency that gently but unmistakably shakes the structures of fear and conformity they've grown comfortable within. Most people build lives based on what is safe, familiar, and socially approved. They surround themselves with ideas and habits that keep them feeling secure, even if that security is an illusion. When someone like you comes along, someone aligned with a higher truth, someone not afraid to live authentically, it acts like a mirror they never asked for. And mirrors are uncomfortable when you've spent years hiding. You become a disruption not through action, but through presence. You will notice that some people become defensive around you without cause. They may project negativity onto you, assign motives you never had, or distance themselves without explanation. This has nothing to do with you personally, and everything to do with the inner world your presence unsettles. When someone is committed to remaining asleep, your awareness feels threatening. When someone has compromised their spirit to fit in, your authenticity feels like confrontation. Without intending to, you reveal what they've buried, and that is both powerful and painful. At the same time, others will find themselves strangely compelled by you. They may not understand why, but they feel the urge to change something in their life after spending time with you. They become reflective, introspective, more honest. You've disrupted their comfort zone, but in doing so, you've planted a seed. They may not thank you, they may not even admit it, but inside something begins to stir, an old dream remembered, a forgotten part of themselves reaching for light again. This disruption is not something you control. It is not something you aim to do. It is simply a consequence of being in alignment with your truth, while others are still living out roles. The chosen one does not conform, and in a world that thrives on imitation, that alone is revolutionary. You walk differently, think differently, and exist with a kind of spiritual clarity that shakes stagnant energy wherever it resides. And so, whether others resent you, admire you, or simply avoid you, the one thing they cannot do is remain unchanged by you. They may return to their comfort zones, but they do so knowing that they've seen something real and once seen. It cannot be unseen. This is your effect, not because you tried to change them, but because you reminded them without a word that they were never meant to remain asleep. You awaken what others suppress. That is perhaps one of the most mysterious and undeniable signs that people know, on some deep, often unconscious level, that you are the chosen one. It's not because you go around exposing secrets or confronting people with harsh truths. In fact, you may say very little, and yet by simply being yourself, by existing in the fullness of your truth, you stir something in others that they've tried to keep buried, the parts of themselves they've locked away, the dreams, the wounds, the questions, the fears. They begin to rise to the surface when they are around you. And they don't always like it. Most people have built inner prisons. They suppress their doubts, their pain, their longing for meaning, and convince themselves that this numb existence is normal. They keep their shadows hidden beneath a smile, beneath routine, beneath distraction. But when someone like you enters their life, someone who is whole, awake, unafraid of the darkness within, you act like a spiritual earthquake, not because you shake them with force, but because you are grounded in something real, and that realness calls everything false to attention. This is why some people seem to change in your presence. You may have noticed that they become nervous, reactive, or overly critical. Others might suddenly open up to you, revealing personal stories or emotions they didn't even know they needed to express. You may wonder why complete strangers feel the urge to pour their soul out to you, or why others go cold and distant for no apparent reason. It's because your energy brings unspoken things to the surface. You don't have to dig for it. It rises on its own, drawn to the light of your awareness like a moth to flame. But this is not always received with gratitude. You may find that some people feel exposed around you, even though you've done nothing to make them feel judged. They sense that you see them, not just the version they show the world, but the truth beneath it all. That gaze, that presence, that awareness, it's healing, but healing often begins with discomfort. You are not the source of their discomfort, you are the catalyst for their awakening, and not everyone is ready to wake up. At the same time, there are those who will feel incredibly safe with you, because, while you awaken what is suppressed, you do so without violence, without condemnation. You hold space for people to remember themselves. Your presence gives them permission to feel deeply, to question, to unravel, and in that unraveling, something sacred begins to emerge. They don't always understand what's happening, but they know that something in them is shifting because of you. This is not a burden, it's a gift, but it's also why the path of the chosen one is often lonely, not because you are unloved, but because your presence brings truth, and truth demands change. And change is something many desire, but few are willing to face. Still, you walk on unapologetically, because your very being is a reminder that the soul cannot be silenced forever. You embody paradox, both peace and provocation. This is one of the most powerful and telling signs that people know you are the chosen one. You are not easily categorized. You are not just light, nor are you just shadow. You are the full spectrum. You carry a calm that soothes, but also a presence that disturbs. You offer clarity, yet you stir questions. You walk with grace, and yet your very being challenges the structures people have built around themselves. This duality is not confusion. It is wholeness. It is the natural result of someone who has embraced all parts of themselves and no longer lives in fragments. Most people are conditioned to seek either approval or avoidance. They want to be accepted, liked, understood, or they want to avoid pain, conflict, and exposure. But you, in your authenticity, have stepped outside of that game. You no longer perform for the crowd. You no longer hide the parts of yourself that were once called too much or not enough, and so you become both a sanctuary and a storm. To some you are deeply comforting, to others profoundly uncomfortable, yet all of them, whether they speak it or not, feel your presence in their bones. There is something deeply unsettling about someone who is not at war with themselves. You do not need to dominate to feel powerful. You do not need to shout to be heard. Your silence speaks, your eyes see, and your stillness carries weight. When you walk into a space, you don't demand attention, but you receive it anyway, not because of ego, but because the soul always recognizes authenticity, even if the mind tries to deny it. That is why you are both peace and provocation. You remind people of who they could be, and that memory, buried beneath years of pretending, can either inspire or irritate. Some will come to you for comfort. They'll feel safe in your presence because you do not judge. You've been through enough to understand pain, and through that understanding, you offer others the space to simply exist as they are. And yet, even in that kindness, you provoke transformation, not by demanding it, but by embodying it. You become living evidence that peace does not mean weakness, that softness does not mean passivity, and that truth, when lived fully, is the most radical act of all. Others will find your paradox intolerable. They will try to label you, box you in, or tear you down because you cannot be neatly explained, and that threatens the tidy illusions they cling to. But no matter how they react, one thing remains certain: they feel you, deeply, intimately, undeniably. To be both peace and provocation is not a contradiction. It is the mark of someone who has integrated their light and shadow and chosen to live in wholeness. That kind of being is rare, that kind of being is sacred, and that kind of being is always recognized, even if not everyone has the courage to say it.
We often believe that hatred is simple. Someone either despises us or they do not. But life is never so black and white. If you observe closely, you will see that hatred is rarely about you at all. It is a mirror, reflecting the inner turmoil of the one who claims to loathe you. True hatred is cold, distant, indifferent. But if someone constantly fixates on you, reacts to your presence, or speaks of you with intensity, then something deeper is at play. The line between love and hate is finer than we think, for both stem from passion. And sometimes the very person who resents you the most is unknowingly drawn to you, bound by forces they themselves do not understand. So, let us explore the signs that reveal when someone doesn't just hate you, but is connected to you in a way they cannot escape. Hatred is a strange thing. We often assume that when someone dislikes us, it is a simple matter of repulsion or rejection, as if they have shut the door on us and moved on. But life and human emotion are never so straightforward. If we look closely, we begin to see that hatred is not always what it seems. It is not a wall that separates two people. It is a mirror, reflecting not just who you are, but who they are as well. When someone truly hates, they do not engage, they do not look back, and they do not invest their energy into your existence. Real hatred is cold indifference. But when a person cannot seem to let you go, when their energy lingers around you like a shadow, there is something more than hatred at play. They are tethered to you, often in ways they do not even understand. Think about the people in your life who have made it clear that they do not like you. Perhaps they speak of you when you are not around. Maybe they roll their eyes at your success, dismiss your presence, or react strongly to even the smallest things you do. And yet, for all their disdain, they seem unable to ignore you completely. They pay attention, they listen, they respond. Hatred, if we strip it down to its essence, is a form of attention. And attention is energy. Energy only flows where something matters. This is where we begin to see that hatred and admiration are often intertwined. People rarely hate what does not affect them. More often than not, what they detest in you is something that stirs them. Perhaps a quality they wish they had, a freedom they do not feel, or a courage they are too afraid to claim for themselves. A person who dismisses you without a second thought is one who has no emotional ties to you. But a person who watches, reacts, and obsesses, even under the guise of contempt, is someone deeply affected by your presence. It is as if you represent something unresolved in them, a question they do not want to answer, a truth they are not ready to face. And so you must ask yourself, is it truly hatred, or is it an unspoken connection wrapped in resistance? When someone hates you but cannot let you go, what they are expressing is not rejection but attachment. They are bound to you, caught in a dance they may not even be aware of. This is why so many of history's greatest rivalries have existed between people who were, at their core, deeply fascinated with each other. Love and hate are not opposites. They are neighbors, divided by the thinnest of walls. Sometimes hatred is simply a misunderstanding of one's own feelings. A person may resent you because you remind them of their own limitations. Your presence may shine a light on the things they wish they could be, and rather than face that uncomfortable truth, it is easier to project that discomfort outward, making you the source of their frustration rather than looking inward. But resentment, in this form, is a backhanded form of admiration. It is an unwilling admission that you are important enough to stir something in them. Understanding this changes everything. It allows you to step back and see their emotions for what they really are. It teaches you not to take their hatred personally, because their feelings are rarely about you in the way you think they are. You are simply the mirror, reflecting something they are not ready to see. And in that realization, there is power. Power to release yourself from their negativity, power to stand firm in who you are, and power to walk away knowing that their emotions belong to them, not to you. When we think of hatred, we often picture something definitive, something solid and immovable. But the truth is, real hatred is not loud. It does not seek acknowledgement, nor does it demand attention. It is quiet, distant, and empty. A person who truly despises you does not waste their energy on you. They do not argue, they do not react, they do not even care enough to think about you. Hatred, in its purest form, is indifference. It is the absence of feeling, the absence of recognition, the absence of any real connection. But when someone constantly reacts to you, when their emotions are stirred by your presence, when they go out of their way to speak of you, engage with you, or even undermine you, this is not hatred in its truest form. This is something else, something far more complex. Obsession, fascination, and resentment often disguise themselves as hatred. We assume that because someone speaks negatively about us, because they roll their eyes when we succeed, or because they seem irritated by our very existence, that they must simply hate us. But why then do they seem unable to ignore us? Why do they always have something to say, some criticism to offer, some reaction to give? A person who is unaffected by you does not respond to you. They do not take time out of their day to dwell on your actions, your choices, or your successes. But the person who claims to hate you, yet continues to keep you in their awareness, is someone who is tied to you in a way they may not even understand. Consider how much energy it takes to truly dislike someone, to constantly think about them, to speak of them, to react to them. Energy is a currency, and we only spend it where we feel drawn. Even if that energy comes in the form of resentment, frustration, or jealousy, it is still energy being directed toward you. And energy is never wasted on something meaningless. It always points to something deeper. Sometimes what a person truly resents is not you, but the way you make them feel about themselves. You may represent something they wish they had, a quality they secretly admire, or a way of living that makes them question their own choices. Their resistance to you is not about you. It is about the discomfort they feel when confronted with aspects of themselves they would rather ignore. Hatred, then, is often a mask for something else. It is an unspoken attachment, a tether that binds two people in an unseen way. Love and hate are not opposites. They are deeply intertwined. Both require passion, both require focus, and both create a connection. If you are truly indifferent to something, it does not affect you, it does not stir you. But when someone reacts to you, positively or negatively, it means you have entered their consciousness. You have become significant in some way. Even if they refuse to acknowledge it, their fixation reveals what they do not want to admit. You matter to them. This is why some of the greatest rivalries in history have been fueled not by pure hatred but by deep fascination. Two people who seem to despise each other often share an unspoken connection, an energy that neither one can fully break away from. The stronger the emotion, the deeper the bond. And sometimes what appears to be hatred is simply an unresolved feeling, one that even the person experiencing it cannot fully explain. So the next time someone seems to dislike you with unusual intensity, ask yourself, is it truly hatred, or is it something more? Are they rejecting you, or are they unconsciously drawn to you? Their emotions may be tangled, confused, and unprocessed, but one thing is certain. If someone cannot ignore you, then they do not truly hate you. Something inside them is keeping them tied to you, and in that realization, you may find a sense of freedom. You are not the source of their emotions, you are simply the trigger that brings them to the surface. And once you understand that, you no longer have to carry their burden as your own. The line between love and hate is thinner than we often realize. We like to think of them as opposites, but in truth they are merely different expressions of the same deep emotional investment. If someone truly hates you, they should be able to walk away without a second thought, as if you were nothing more than a passing shadow. But when a person lingers, when they continue to react to you, to watch you, to keep you in their thoughts and conversations, then their emotions are not as simple as they seem. Hatred in its loudest form is rarely pure. It is tangled with something unspoken, something unresolved, something they may not even fully understand themselves. Look closely at the way people behave around you. Some will support you openly, some will admire you from a distance, and some will claim to despise you while always finding a way to keep you in their awareness. The ones who genuinely do not care will simply move on without thought or hesitation, but the ones who react, who scoff at your success, who seem irritated by your very presence, those are the ones who are caught in an invisible web. They may call it hatred, but their actions suggest something else. It is easy to believe that dislike is straightforward, that when someone speaks negatively about you or finds ways to undermine you, it must mean they want nothing to do with you. But this is rarely the case. In reality, the more energy someone spends on you, the more you occupy their mind. They may not wish to admit it, but they are engaging with you, feeding their thoughts with your presence, allowing you to take up space in their consciousness. If you were truly irrelevant to them, they would not invest their energy in you at all, but instead they react. And reaction is a sign of connection, whether acknowledged or not. Consider how often people disguise admiration as resentment. They see something in you that unsettles them. Perhaps your confidence, your ability to take risks, or your refusal to conform. Rather than confront what this stirs in them, it is easier to direct that discomfort outward. They may criticize you, mock you, or try to bring you down, but beneath it all, there is something unspoken. You have impacted them. You have in some way reached them, and this is why they cannot simply ignore you. Sometimes the ones who seem to dislike you the most are the ones who are most drawn to you. They do not know how to process their emotions, so they react in the only way they can, through resistance, through irritation, through opposition. But if you strip away the surface, what remains is a strange form of attachment. Their energy is tied to you even if in conflict, and the stronger the reaction, the deeper that attachment runs. This is why rivalries can be more intense than friendships, why enemies can sometimes know each other more deeply than friends do. The energy of opposition is still energy, still engagement, still an acknowledgement of significance. It may not be friendly, it may not be positive, but so when you encounter someone and reality is never as simple as we wish it to be, do not mistake their resistance for true hatred. True hatred does not linger, does not react, does not engage, but what they feel, this emotional entanglement they cannot seem to break, is something far more complex. They are bound to you in ways they may not even understand, and that is why they cannot simply let you go. And in seeing this, you gain clarity, power, and above all, freedom. You no longer have to carry their emotions as your own, because you now understand the truth. Their reaction is about them, not about you. There is a strange irony in human relationships. Those who claim to dislike you the most often seem to be the ones who cannot stop thinking about you. We assume that hatred is the end of the road, a firm rejection, a wall that separates two people completely. But when you look at life closely, you start to notice a peculiar pattern. People who truly hate do not engage. They do not watch you, they do not react to you, and they certainly do not spend their energy discussing you. Indifference is the true opposite of love, not hatred. When someone cannot let go of their feelings toward you, whether positive or negative, they are still emotionally invested in you. And this is where the illusion of hatred begins to unravel. If someone actively dislikes you, their words and actions may suggest rejection, but their focus tells a different story. Pay attention to the way they behave. Do they criticize you often? Do they seem irritated when you succeed? Do they make an effort to undermine you, or even go out of their way to discredit you? These are not the behaviors of someone who is indifferent. These are the behaviors of someone who, whether they realize it or not, is engaged in a relationship with you, even if it is one of opposition. It is as if they are subconsciously tethered to you, unable to look away. If their feelings were truly clear-cut, they would simply move on. But they do not. They stay. This is because lingering in the shadows of your existence, with fascination, caught in a cycle of reaction. The more someone hates you, the more they are drawn to you. They may resent something about you, a quality you possess, the way you live your life, the way others respond to you. But beneath that resentment is an undeniable connection. They do not truly wish to ignore you. They wish to understand why they feel so strongly about you. They may disguise this curiosity as contempt, but the very fact that they are still reacting, still watching, still engaging, reveals the truth. They are not as detached as they claim to be. Human nature is complex. We are drawn to things that make us feel deeply, even if those feelings are uncomfortable. When someone cannot stop themselves from reacting to you, it means you have affected them in some way. You may trigger something in them that they do not want to face. Perhaps they see a version of themselves in you that they abandoned long ago. Perhaps you remind them of their own limitations, their own fears, their own regrets, and rather than process these emotions honestly, they redirect them toward you, making you the source of their discomfort. But their reaction is not about you, it is about them. You are simply a mirror, reflecting something they are struggling to accept. The irony of this dynamic is that the more they push against you, the more they reveal their attachment. They may claim to hate you, but their energy betrays them. A person who is truly free from emotional ties will not waste their time trying to bring you down. They will not invest their energy in your downfall. But when someone fixates on you, when they are unable to let go of their feelings, whether those feelings manifest as jealousy, anger, or frustration, there is something unresolved within them. Their hatred is not rejection, it is resistance. Resistance to the way you make them feel, to the way you challenge their worldview, to the way your existence forces them to confront something within themselves. This understanding frees you. It allows you to see their actions for what they truly are, an unconscious confession of attachment. You no longer need to take their words personally, because you recognize the deeper truth. Their emotions belong to them, not to you. Their fixation is not a reflection of your worth, but a revelation of their inner conflict. And when you see this clearly, you no longer need to carry the burden of their reaction. You can simply let go, knowing that their energy is theirs to resolve. You are merely the trigger, not the cause. There is an old saying that the opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. Yet so many people believe that when someone expresses dislike toward them, it must mean they are truly hated. But if you look at human behavior with clarity, you will see something strange. Those who claim to hate you often cannot stop thinking about you. They cannot help but react to your presence, your actions, or even your mere existence. To be is indifference. A person who is indifferent to you will not concern themselves with what you do. They will not invest their energy in criticizing you, nor will they feel the need to remind others of their distaste for you. True indifference is silent, effortless, and detached. But hatred? Hatred is still an emotional connection. It still requires attention. And where attention flows, if someone truly despises you, they would have no reason to keep you in their awareness. They would move on as easily as the wind changes direction. But when they linger, when they scoff at your success, when they react to your words or feel the need to speak about you even when you are not around, it becomes clear that their emotions are not as simple as they claim. What appears to be hatred is often an unspoken fascination. You have in some way stirred something in them, whether they wish to acknowledge it or not. This is because humans are drawn to what makes them feel deeply. Love, admiration, resentment, envy. These emotions are powerful, and they do not arise from nothing. People rarely feel strong emotions towards something that does not impact them in some way. If someone is consumed with dislike for you, ask yourself, why do they care so much? What is it about you that keeps them engaged even in opposition? The answer is often not about you at all, it is about what you represent to them. Perhaps they see a version of themselves in you that they abandoned long ago. Perhaps your confidence reminds them of their own insecurities. Perhaps your success reminds them of risks they were too afraid to take. Rather than face these feelings within themselves, it is easier to project them outward, making you the villain in a story they have created in their own mind. But their hatred is not about you. It is about the emotions you awaken in them. You are a mirror, reflecting back something they do not want to see. This is why some people are obsessed with tearing others down. It is not enough for them to dislike you silently. They must make it known, must seek validation for their feelings from others. But in doing so, they reveal the truth. They are still deeply attached to you. Even if they claim to despise you, their focus remains fixed on you, as if they cannot fully let you go. And what does this tell you? It tells you that their so-called hatred is not as simple as they would like to believe. It is tangled with envy, with curiosity, with an unconscious desire to understand why you affect them so deeply. When you see this clearly, you begin to free yourself from their negativity. You realize that their emotions do not belong to you, that their fixation is a reflection of their own internal struggle. You no longer need to take their words personally, because you understand that their reactions say more about them than they do about you. You are not responsible for how they feel. You are simply a presence in their world that has triggered something they are not ready to face. And so you have a choice. You can engage, fueling their emotions with your own reaction, or you can detach, recognizing that their feelings are theirs to resolve. In doing so, you reclaim your power. You step out of their narrative and into your own, where your energy is no longer tied to their unresolved emotions, and in that space of understanding you find true freedom.